Today I want to talk about the power of imagination. And my intention is to really help you understand what imagination is at the deeper level, more than what you're actually understanding and how you're understanding. To do that, I want to use one of Neville Goddard's book, which is, torn already. He has a really well-known book called Power Awareness, but in this version of Power Awareness, he also has a book titled Awaken Imagination, which is one of my favorite books. And the chapter 1 of that book talks about who is your imagination. And one of the statements that Neville talks very often is, I am conscious of being, right? So I am is the awareness of being, and that is God. So God is not any persona out there, but your awareness of being, my awareness of being, the awareness of being I am is God. And in this Who is Your Imagination chapter, Neville talks about imagination is God. Yeah. So God is ever present, all knowing. There's nowhere, no time that God is not. So the function that we have as a human to be able to imagine is God. There's nowhere that God is not, right? So sun is God, right? The whole system that we have in this universe is God. There's nothing that God is not. So the ability for us to imagine is God. And a lot of the things that Neville talks about comes from the, influence of the Bible, right? And we have this called Christ consciousness. Now, Christ in us is the imagined self that we create internally that is closer to the soul essence, right? So you can say awakened self. The awakened imagination is the self that is awakened, that rise above all the mental construct, the self and the psyche and the sense of self that is expressing the limitless soul essence of who we are, right? Now, the mind is infinite, the mind is finite and the body is finite, and soul spirit is infinite. So the moment you express the soul essence in the mind, there's going to be some limitation, right? But the awakened self, which is the Christ consciousness, to be able to imagine the self, the version of the self that is the highest possible frequency, that is the birth of the Christ in you. So having that conversation in mind, I want to talk about what are the things that you're imagining on a day-to-day basis. Because imagination happens rather automatically for a lot of people as a reactive activity. You see something and you think about something, right? You notice something and the inside imagination becomes the after effect of the outside consequence. But the invitation is to flip that, right? So you want to be creatively imagining and visualizing the highest potential of you and begin looking at the world from that place, which requires practice. And I also want to talk about, because Neville is the one who really, really talks about I am conscious of being, right? So unless you are the I am, you cannot be conscious of being. And because I am is I am, and you're able to consciously be, and then you can conceptualize who you can become. So the imagination, the ability to imagine is the awareness of being, which is the Father. So Neville said God, imagination is God, right? And Father is greater. I and the Father are one. And the Father is greater than the Son. So what that means is that the conception of the product of the imagination, the sense of self that you conceptualize inside of you is the Son, right? And what that's the imagination, which is the Father, which is God, is greater than the Son because you cannot imagine without the ability to imagine. Does that make sense? That's what it means by I am conscious of being, whatever the concept. Yeah. So I am is a permanent feeling, the awareness of being, the I amness, the essence of who you are. And the imagination is a part of it. And the conception, what we conceive internally, is the Son, is the birth of the idea. And a lot of the Nebel's talk and the Bible, conversation has to do with forgiveness of sin, right? To miss the mark is to begin failing to awaken, to begin cage inside of the mental construct and not being able to rise above it. But and the key is this, once you understand that God is not some entity outside of you, but the awareness of being and your imagination, which is part of your free will that you have an ability to choose, is God, then you are able to rise above and utilize that free will to forgive your sin so you do not need to miss the mark. Yeah. So, bottom line, what I would love for you to understand is you are so powerful. And I want you to feel that God essence inside of you and the ability to imagine. I want you to honor that and to be able to deliberately utilize that in favor of you so you can awaken that version to rise above all the mental construct and to have fun creating the life that you are meant to and here to live. We're here to awaken our gift and touch others and begin remembering who we are at the deeper level in that process. So let me know if you have any question. I hope that the understanding of the imagination expanded after this, and to be conscious and deliberate with what you're choosing to imagine constantly and where you're seeing the world from is important. So see you in the next video.